Undercooked and Overworked. I'm the host of this podcast, Jessie. So I have been in the service industry for about 9 years. I've waitressed since I was 15. I'm going to be 24 soon. And then I have been doing hair for a little over 4 years. So in my time, I've worked in 3 hair salons and let's see, 1, 2, 3, it's like 6, 7 restaurants. Anybody who's worked in either of these jobs know that there can be a high turnover rate sometimes, or it's really hard to find your place, especially like restaurants and bars. They tend to be super mismanaged at times. So that is why there's been so many places that I've worked at. But it makes for really great stories. And so this podcast is going to be for anybody in the service industry, not necessarily just like restaurant or hairstylist. You could work at a hotel, the concierge, a nurse, retail, anything like that. I know you guys have crazy stories and I'd love to hear them. And you can find out how to be on this podcast at the end when I tell you how and where to submit your post to. So I'm no longer at a restaurant. I'm strictly behind the chair, which has been my ultimate goal since I've started doing hair. After our quarantine, so I was waitressing and working at a hair salon, and then in March we were shut down. So when we reopened back at the end of June, I thought it would be best for me just to stick to working at the hair salon, super busy, all that stuff, and things have been really great. But however, I definitely miss the waitressing, which is kind of funny because it was always one of those things where I was like, oh my God, I can't wait till I don't have to do this anymore. But if you've ever worked in the industry, I'm sure you kind of get it. So the whole reason why I named this podcast Al Dente is because one of my first jobs was at an Italian restaurant, and I'm not Italian, and I didn't know any of the terminology. Like, they never really taught me anything. So this woman called and answered the phone, and she ordered, penne vodka al dente. So I am like going through the menu. I'm looking everywhere. I don't see anything that says al dente. So, I'm assuming it's like a sauce or a food or something. Like, I don't really know what it is. So I tell her that's not on our menu, and she gets pretty quiet on the phone, and then my boss comes over and he's yelling like, what don't we have? We should have everything, blah, blah. Like, they thought they were like a really great restaurant. They're not open anymore, so they really weren't that great. And so I hand him the phone because I'm like, I don't know, we don't have al dente. He rolls his eyes. He's so pissed at me. And he finishes taking this lady's order. And then after they hang up on the phone, he's like trying to explain to me what al dente means. And I was just like, okay, like, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Now I know. They were super Italian. Like, the whole family worked there, it was like all the daughters, and there was only ever like 3 or 4 outside servers. So it was kind of like a tight-knit thing, and they don't really, I don't know, they just kind of benefited each other, and that's why I never really knew anything, but it makes for a good story. So my follow-up story to this is, another place I worked at that I did not know what something was, because nobody ever told me. So I was 17 and I was working at this dive bar. It wasn't super divey, but it was what it was. And I was never taught any drinks or anything because I was only 17, and like, legally you're not supposed to be able to serve until you're 18, drinks, that is. So this guy orders a screwdriver, and I just look at him like, what? And he's like, a screwdriver, and I'm just looking at him, I'm like, a screwdriver? And he's like, yeah. And he's pointing to his glass, but I thought he was pointing to the table, which was a little bit wobbly. So I am really thinking to myself that this man wants a screwdriver to fix our table. But he's kind of weird, so I'm not super comfortable giving him a sharp object. So I go back to the kitchen, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. He's really weird. I don't know if I should give him a screwdriver. Like, why does he want the screwdriver? and I'm just going on and on about this guy and like, what should I do? And one of our cooks behind the line, he says, well, honey, you know, a screwdriver is a drink. I was, oh, okay. So I was super embarrassed. I didn't want to go back to the table because this guy definitely thought I was just talking about like giving him a screwdriver. And he came to this restaurant for like a couple of years while I still worked there, and he would always joke from time to time like, oh, I'll have a screwdriver, you know. But yeah, unfortunately, I've had more than 2 stories like that too. It's really hard when you're talking to people if there's like a disconnect or like you're on 2 separate pages, like trying to figure out what people are even talking about, especially if you don't know the term they're using. So it can be really interesting. So I can't wait to share more of my stories like this with you guys. And like I said earlier, if you guys have stories to share and you want to be on this podcast or featured, or if you'd like me to share your story anonymously, you can first follow my Instagram, which is Jessie J Productions. Jessie is spelled with an I-E at the end. And then in there, you'll be able to find my email, and that will be eldente with jessiej@gmail.com. So what you guys can do is just share your story, and at the beginning of it, let me know if you'd like, you know, the restaurant or the salon or wherever you work to be kept anonymous. I can change names if you'd like, or, you know, just not say any names at all. So, and then that way you can be featured on my show. So I'm super excited to, you know, go more into this. I'm just like thinking of all the stories I want to share, and to give you a sneak peek into next week's episode, which will be about the handful of people that have quit their job because of me, which is kind of funny because I'm not a hard person to work with at all. I feel like I'm really easygoing, but a lot of people have not been happy with me. I've had a lot of complaints, and I can't wait to share those stories with you guys. If you guys have had anything similar, as you know, people, especially I find in the restaurant business, well, no, any business, like, people want to walk all over you, and if you don't let them, or if you don't like include them in your life, they get really butthurt about it. So I can't wait to tell you guys, and I thank you for listening. Tag anybody in this on my Instagram that you think would like this, and I will see you guys next week.